Hello and welcome. Good evening, everyone. Just give a few seconds here for everyone to join our webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. We have over 200 registered for mastering the Canadian resume format. Ask the experts. So happy that you have joined us. My name is Sisha Maharaj. I'm a senior consultant with Devant, and I will be your host this evening. And I'm so excited to welcome you all. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, hoping that you can make some connections. Love to hear sort of what program you're in, where you're calling us from, and feel free to share your LinkedIn and stay in touch. Next slide, please. So this is the Devant team. I'm so excited to be here with you right now for our event on Canadian resume. Hello and welcome. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the land and where I am residing today for this webinar. I'm actually in the region of Durham, and we exist on the lands that the Mississauga, Sagig, Anishinaabe inhabited for thousands of years prior to European colonization. These lands are the traditional and treaty territories of the nations covered under the Williams Treaties, including the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, Alderville First Nation, Hiawatha First Nation, Curve Lake First Nation, and the Chippewa Nations of Georgina Island, Beausoleil, and Rama. I honor, recognize, and respect Indigenous peoples as right holders and stewards of the lands and waters on which we have the privilege to live. In our efforts towards reconciliation, we continue to build and strengthen relationships with First Nations, as well as the large Métis communities and the growing Inuit communities here in Durham. So I want to encourage you to learn about the lands in which you are a part of or which you are residing. And I'm just really excited to learn a little bit more about you. Welcome again. Love to hear what city you're joining us from, and also what questions you have. We'll be talking about that in a few minutes. So next slide, please. So I'm so excited to introduce our expert today, Tiffany Ramnarine, a career development practitioner. Welcome, Tiffany, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're all doing well. I'll just share a little bit about myself. I see everyone is introducing themselves in the chat. So again, please continue to share maybe the type of work that you're interested in, the program you graduated from. We really encourage networking, so please feel free to include the link to your LinkedIn profile as well. Very quickly, I'll share a little bit about myself. So as you know, of course, my name is Tiffany. I have been with Devant for a little over a year and a half so far. I've done quite a bit of facilitation, and I do offer one-on-one coaching sessions as well. I do work full-time, basically providing a lot of employment and career counseling work. So anything resume related, interview related, even just having a chat or a check-in with each other. As we know, the market is not in the best state. So even just having a chat of, I've been applying, I'm not hearing anything back, I'm feeling frustrated and lost. I'm more than welcome to, talk it out, brainstorm together as well to see what we can do and set up a few next steps for us. So I've been in the field for quite some time, and it's definitely something that I'm extremely passionate about. So I'm really happy to be here this evening. Just a few house rules. So everyone is muted at the moment. If you do feel like you want to unmute, just go ahead and raise your hand and we can unmute you. If you're someone who prefers to have your camera off, by all means, feel free to go right ahead. The session is also being recorded as well. So at the end, you will be receiving an email. Any questions that you have, we do encourage you to use the Q&A rather than typing in the chat, because it does get lost with all of our questions in here. So anything that you have resume or job search related, please make sure you're using the Q&A option that you'll see. We'll also be providing the link for any other upcoming sessions that we'll have. They usually take place on Wednesdays. So like I said, make sure you're using the Q&A. This is, you have almost an hour, so I want you to take advantage. Any questions, concerns that you've been noticing, I really want to make sure we are here to answer them for you. So just a little bit about Devant. So I know right now it says 48,000, and I believe it's been updated to 54 or 55,000. So just a little bit of background. Devant offers free and actionable advice from our career coaches. So I'm one of them. We have a whole other ton of coaches that also support that are amazing. Devant is actually one of the first organizations that I have noticed that really got ahead of the mark when it comes to utilizing AI in their services, specifically career services. So in terms of your resume, interview prep, labor market knowledge, and research. Devant is definitely ahead when it comes to that. We also have events where you will have introductions to partners and employers to support with your immigration, academic life, and career development. So just ensure you're keeping your eye on the website and you are not missing out on any of the upcoming events. So just to get into resumes a little bit, I see we have something in the Q&A. Okay, perfect. So I will definitely get to that. So again, any questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. We will definitely have a chance to get to them. So just a few tips here when it comes to best practices when it comes to resume writing. The first one that I want to know is to limit personal information. So for example, your address. I know it was common practice to provide, I live on 123 Front Street. I know I used to have that on my resume, my full address, but I've just kept it now to my city and province. People, sometimes I've noticed marital status on resumes, that's not needed. Pictures, I've noticed, that's not needed either. And even including your legal status in the country, I've seen some people provide, their PR, they're on a work permit, this is when it expires, they're a citizen. That's not needed either. I think throughout the interview process and when you go on to sign, that is when, your SIN and your personal information would be shared, and then the employer can kind of make that choice from there. Second, we want to ensure that we are focusing on accomplishments rather than tasks. So I know it's very easy when it comes to resumes to kind of list off, your duties, anything that you were doing, but we want to make sure there's a little bit of a formula to it. Third, we want to make sure we are creating a tailored resume for each job posting. Again, I know it's a lot of extra work to create a new resume every single time you find a role that you would like to apply for. But again, I promise that's what is going to make a difference. Um, Anytime you read a job posting, even if it's for two of the same job titles, you might notice that it's worded differently, right? There are different keywords that are being used throughout the resume. So if we find, a customer support role at Bell versus a customer support role at Rogers, you might be doing some of the same responsibilities, but if we take a look at the job description as a whole, there will be differences. So just ensuring that we're really reading through this with a fine-tooth comb and we're trying to pull as many keywords as possible from the posting into our resume in order to pass this ATS, in order for you to land an interview, in order for you to receive an offer. Fourth, we want to make sure that we are concise. So again, I've seen resumes that are like 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages. 1 to 2 pages is enough. When it comes to, what do you want to leave and remove on your resume, it really depends. We don't need to keep anything on there that is from the 1990s or even the early 2000s. If you find that is giving you that third page that we don't need, 2 pages is more than enough. And again, when it comes to tailoring, that's when you're gonna gauge, is this really relevant for me to keep onto here? So I'm gonna have a look at the Q&A. Please feel free to throw in any other questions that you have. Yes, we do want to focus on resumes this evening, but anything else job search related that you're noticing, you're more than welcome to put your questions in there. The first question that we have is, how can we be sure that our resume passes the ATS for each job description? So I would say you would know if your resume is doing its job, if you are getting callbacks for interviews, or depending on your background, if it's more tech focused, you might be getting assessments sent to you for like a technical screening. So you'll know when your resume is doing its job when you're getting those calls. If you're not getting calls, you're submitting large amounts of applications. That tells me we might have to go back to the resume and see what we can do differently. Is it a matter of formatting? Are you using a different type of bullet point? Is it the font? Are there certain boxes or check marks that are not being picked up by the ATS? So just be mindful of that. Um, so that is a really good question. We have here, my resume is always 3 pages long. How can I shorten it to 1 to 2? Am I including too many details? Same for my cover letter. So for resumes, again, we do recommend 2 pages. Even, for example, depending on your jobs and your background that you've had, you may not need to provide, 5 to 7 bullet points for each job role. So if you have a job that you worked at where not every single responsibility is relevant for the role that you're applying for. We don't need to provide all of the bullet points. We might only want to provide 3 bullet points, whereas a different job, we might want to provide 5. So again, it's really using your discretion to see what makes the most sense, and what do you really want to keep? What's going to help you get that job? What's going to help you go on to that next stage? Cover letters, yeah, 2 pages is definitely a bit long for a cover letter. We do want to keep it short and sweet. Maybe we want to be mindful of the size of font that we're using. Maybe we need to make it a little bit smaller. Maybe we need to play around with the alignment with the bullet points. Maybe we need to move things over to the left so that we have more room to type out our responsibilities. So play around with the font, play around with the sizing of it as well. That can possibly make a difference and contribute to, your cover letter being 2 pages rather than one, and your resume being 3 pages. But yeah, 2 pages is when it comes to the resume is definitely what we want to aim for. So again, just really using that critical lens and asking yourself what is really important for you to keep onto this resume. We have another question here. Should we put the location as GTA or can be city specific? So I would encourage you to be city specific. It's just a little bit easier that way. GTA can mean anything really. So if you're located in Mississauga, just put Mississauga, comma, ON, and I believe that should be good enough. Okay. Can you suggest some difference for academic career related resume versus part-time job related resume building? Um, so you can type in the chat to expand a little bit more, but do you mean the difference between a resume based off of what you're attending school for versus maybe like a survival part-time job? If you're talking about 2 different styles of resumes like that, please let me know. Okay, perfect. You said yes. So when it comes to the academic resume, one of the things that you could possibly include is even some of the courses that you've taken. I find a lot of employers, they will see that something's in progress or that you've graduated from a certain program, but they may not understand what specific courses you took. I find sometimes that really helps them understand your background that you come with. And then if it's something that's part-time, if it's customer service, if it's, within the hospitality industry, for example, we really want to focus on those transferable skills. We want to focus on those soft skills. So depending on your background, just really think, was there any customer service that I did that would be relevant to this role? Was there any data entry that I did that would be relevant to this role? It is a little bit tricky if I don't know the academic background that you come from, but you can always retype your question in the chat. Is it true that recruiters and hiring managers only read about 8 seconds of the resume because they have so many resumes to look through? So you have to make your point fast. Absolutely. I think it is about 8 seconds. And honestly, that is where Yes, the content of the resume is extremely important because that's going to get you past the ATS if that is what the employer is using. However, we want to make sure that the resume is also pleasing to the eye. So the first thing that I look at when I receive resumes for job opportunities is it formatted correctly? When I open up your resume on my laptop, are all the bullet points aligned? So if you have your summary of qualifications and all of the bullet points start over here, when you go to your work experience, are they all going to be pushed over here? So just make sure everything is aligned. When we think about the month that you started a job, the year that you started a job, is everything aligned to the right of the resume? Does it follow the same, you know, company name, job title, company name, job title? So just really making sure, yes, the content is important, but cosmetically, how does this look upon first glance if you were to receive it? One way to make sure your resume really doesn't move around too much is when you are submitting applications, make sure that it is a PDF format. I find that is a way to really ensure, it's locked in place. There's no room for error unless there are applications where they specifically ask for you to submit Word documents. In that case, we'll have to, follow their rules and submit a Word doc. But other than that, I highly encourage you to stick to PDF before you drag and submit. Open the resume up on your laptop or your computer and see what it looks like on your end. So just make sure everything is formatted correctly. Everything is the same throughout, the same resume, the same style, the same font, same size. All of that really makes a huge difference in what recruiters are noticing and seeing on their end. We have a question called, what does ATS mean? It means applicant tracking system. So a lot of big employers use ATS when they receive large amounts of applications. So I know, for example, banks, when there's an amazing role, my apologies. When there's a role that becomes available, for example, with banks, HR does not have the time to look through the hundreds and sometimes thousands of resumes that they receive. So they will have a software that they have set up. They will plug in as many keywords maybe as possible, depending on what they're looking for. And then the resumes that basically have all of those words will be the ones that are taken to that next step. They will be the ones that are passed through the system. And then they'll have a smaller list to work with, and then that's when the interviews will begin. Um, Is it wise to use AI to tailor resume? If not, what is the problem? So, of course, for me personally, I do encourage clients, job seekers to use AI when they are job searching. However, please don't just straight up copy and paste. It's very obvious when that is done. The periods at the end of your responsibilities and points. Sometimes there's like that, communication, and then it will have the semicolon and then the rest of the sentence. So at least, make sure you're changing the style, you're changing the font. Sometimes with ChatGPT, there's like that gray shadow that comes along when you just go ahead and paste. So just make sure you're removing that as well. And just use your critical lens. Make sure, if someone were to pick up the phone and call you when you go in for the interview, is what's on your resume? Are you going to be able to speak to what is on your resume, right? Will it sound like it's the same person? That's what I've noticed quite a bit is the resume will look like this amazing polished document, yet when we phone you or when we're doing an interview together, you're not able to speak on anything or you're not able to comprehend or understand what is being asked. So again, just be mindful of that. If you are using I think it's there as an amazing tool to support, but I don't believe we should 100% rely on it. It can get you to the interview, but then you still have to ensure that you're performing and doing your part as well. How can we tailor the resume for each position? So that's another really good question. Again, so for me, I am someone who loves Google, Google Calendar, Google Docs, and I do try to keep myself organized on there. So making sure you're creating copies of your resume for each application you submit. So don't just have one, master copy that you edit over and over and over again, because when you try to find that original resume that you used for a job posting, you're not going to be able to find it. Sometimes it takes up to 3 to 4 weeks for employers to get back to you to let you know you've been accepted for an interview. So just make sure, again, you're using your folders, you're titling your resumes properly and accordingly, to keep yourself organized. So when it comes to the actual tailoring of the resume, again, looking at the job description, sometimes when I'm tailoring resumes, I will copy and paste it into a Word document and highlight any words that I think are important that I want to include in the resume. Perfect. So is there any website or way to check my resume passing ATS or not? So one of the popular ones that I have heard of, I think Devant also has a platform for you to submit your resume and check this as well. But I know JobScan is fairly popular. The thing with JobScan is that they only give you 5 attempts to run your resume through. And when they provide the feedback, some of it is locked. It's like hidden, it's blurred. They don't give you full access to what you may need in order for you to increase your match rate. So what I would recommend is with, running your resume through along with the job description, take what you can with what they've provided and then run it through again. So once you do that a few times, hopefully each time your match rate will be increased. Then when you've hit your 5 attempts, when it comes to JobScan, you can always use a different email address, honestly, create a different profile. Maybe you have 2 emails that you use, and that will kind of refresh your attempts. Sometimes I will randomly get an email letting me know that they've granted me 2 extra free scans. So it does replenish after some time, just so that you're aware as well. Is it necessary to add a cover letter to each job application? So I remember before cover letters were not almost, they were a requirement when it came to job applications. Um, Nowadays, it's decreased quite a bit. It's seen as something optional. So again, if it's for a job that you're extremely passionate about, you have a template that's ready to go. It's only a matter of updating a few keywords here and there, updating the company, the date, then by all means, submit a cover letter. Um, if it's for something you're really passionate about. Not all job applications online even have a spot for you to include a cover letter. So just making sure you're double checking that first before you spend the time to create a cover letter, and then it's not even a requirement. So yeah, if it's optional, again, if it's a job that you really, really want, a company you really want to work for, then I highly encourage it. However, it's not as much of a requirement as it used to be. So these are some great questions. I see that we have some questions in the chat here as well. Please make sure that you're entering them in the Q&A rather than in the chat. Can you tell us about the process of how candidate is shortlisted, like ATS, human screening, or any other steps involved? So from what I'm aware of, depending on the employer and the size of the organization, your resume does go through the ATS. Then from there, you will have, or the recruiter will have a shorter list of candidates to work with. That's when you might get a phone call asking you some very basic questions, asking you about your availability for an interview. You might be booked in for a very brief, like 15-20 minute chat with someone from HR, and then they would let you know if you're making it to the next round or not. In terms of next steps, I've seen lots of next steps, lots of rounds of interviews. I've seen people get third round, fourth round, sometimes fifth round interviews. So again, depending on the employer, I would just, try to do some research. Glassdoor is a really great website for finding out this information. So if you ever want to know anything about a work environment, any possible questions that may be asked of you as well, please refer to Glassdoor. They might ask you a few questions about your own work experience. You might have to share a little bit of information, and then you get access to a lot of information afterwards. So it's something that I've used personally when I've been preparing for interviews as well. So you might be able to find questions that were asked specifically for the role you're interviewing for as well. Perfect. Let me see here. Um, Regarding accomplishments, can I put awards achieved under a certain job role instead of both quantified outcomes plus awards to make it short? So if the award is relevant to the role that you're applying for, if it's recent, it's not something from, 2004, for example, then I would encourage you to include it in your responsibilities. How do we get to know that our resume is ATS friendly or not? Is there any criteria? So from what I'm aware of, don't do anything fancy with your resume. Basic bullet points, basic fonts, no fancy, bar graphs or charts in your resume. I think that will really throw the ATS off. And again, really focusing on the alignment and things of your resume, just making sure that it looks polished. So try to keep it as basic as possible. You can still kind of have lines in there, separations, making sure you're correctly naming your subheadings. But for me, that's what I notice. No unnecessary boxes and no fancy bullet points. Just use what is there and what is provided, and I believe you should be good to go. So we have here my resume is 2 pages and I'm still tailoring with every job description, but getting negative responses. Can you tell me what would be the reason behind it and how can I improve? So that's very common, unfortunately, the rejections. One thing that I am encouraging a lot of my clients to do right now is making sure that they have a strong LinkedIn profile and a strong LinkedIn presence. So when you find a job online that you want to apply for, maybe you're using Indeed, maybe you're using LinkedIn. Um, Submit your application online, and then go to the company page on LinkedIn. See if you can get in touch with anyone from HR, flag your application to them, see if you can meet with someone who works within the same department for a coffee chat or an informational interview. Let them know, I just applied for this job. I'm really eager. I'd love to meet with you. And you never know, right? I've had a lot of positive feedback when it comes to this with my clients that have tried it out. So I promise I don't want to make extra work for you, but it is something that we've seen, positive results. And again, if you've been job searching for some time and what you've been doing is not working so far, it might be something to try out, something to be open to. So again, going on LinkedIn, making those additional attempts, but making sure your profile is up to date. So good profile picture, not a passport picture, a strong banner, a strong headline, summary, making sure your work experience and education is up to date, and then putting yourself out there for those networking opportunities. Does adding previous experience from other country um, positively impact the resume related to the job? So for me, I think it does make a positive impact. Unfortunately, we all must be aware of this term called Canadian experience. Um, I don't really find that to be fair, to be honest. I think any work experience that you have, doesn't matter what country, you were able to learn, you were qualified for the role. So again, for me, I do feel like it is a positive to have that information on your resume and to include it on there. It helps paint a better and more accurate picture for the employer so that they understand what skills you come with when you're applying for that job. What is the best way to check the ATS score after tailoring the resume. So I shared in I don't think I put in the chat, but I can. It's called Job Scan. Um, so I really do refer quite a bit of people to this website. It is really helpful. It will let you know what your match rate is. And then from there, you can kind of make any changes, tweaks, updates to make sure your match rate is being increased. In terms of what we're looking for as a number, I usually encourage 70 to 80%. Again, I know it's high, but I promise that is what's giving the interviews these days. Um, Adding the website address of previous jobs as a hyperlink could confuse ATS. So, um, depending on your background, it may not be a requirement to include your website for your previous jobs. It's not something that I have come across in applications that I have reviewed. So again, usually it's just kind of the company name, your job title, your responsibilities, and how long you work there. If the employer does want to find out more, I'm sure they can Google the organization or they can meet with you during an interview to ask a little bit more about that employer. So again, it may not be a requirement to hyperlink the website for your previous employers. It is said that ATS cannot read a PDF document, and so the file should always be submitted as a Word. Is that true? I have not heard that. I believe ATS should be able to read PDFs. I do encourage lots of my clients to submit resumes using PDF just because formatting can change depending if you're a Mac user or Microsoft. Sometimes when you open up a Word document, everything gets changed, everything looks different. So just to ensure that it stays put and it stays in the correct formatting that you originally signed up to use, I would encourage PDF. If not, try around, play around with it. Maybe for 1 month consistently, you want to submit PDF. For the other month, you want to consistently submit Word documents and see what gives you results, right? What will provide you with the most traction, and then continue to use that. I work with international students. What is the most important thing to tell them about Canadian resumes? That's a really good question. I would just say there was a few things that I had flagged earlier, just about including, marital status, legal status in the country. Pictures are not needed as well. And even if you just want to go on to LinkedIn and look around a little bit to see what people have included, some people have resumes on there as well. YouTube even is a great resource. So just going on and typing in, Canadian resumes or resume must-haves, things like that are always going to provide you with an even further breakdown as to what is important. So for me, I really like to focus on the formatting. Same font, same style, same size, all throughout the resume. And please don't shy away from your international work experience as well. Go right ahead, Sasha.
Sorry, I had to jump in on that
Yeah.
question. I just want to add, Tiffany, you've been doing amazing. Thank you so much. This is a big topic. For individuals who are working with international students, I think some of the biggest mistakes are not really identifying the transferable skills and outcomes from back home. So remember that you're translating your experience to somebody who's a recruiter in Canada that may not know the name of the company or the customers that you worked with or the context of your international experience. So wherever possible, trying to maybe put a website link or describe the company or describe the clients that you work with in a way that's clear and that is easy for somebody to understand what the scope or significance of your experience is. So I know that that's quite different than some of the sort of logistical parts of the resume, but I think the content within the resume is really a big opportunity to make sure that you are listing the most relevant points of your experience first. But if it's an international company or if it's a different term or a different word that's from back home, that you try to identify what that equivalent is here. So for example, if you have international education, maybe making an equivalent of what it's equivalent to in Canada. There are a number of different services that are available that can be used to assess your international education to what it's equivalent to in Canada. So just wanted to add those few points because if they don't understand your resume, they may just skip over to the next one. So it's actually the candidate's job or the career coaches or the career center guidance would be very helpful in this instance.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. So I hope that answered your question. Again, we have about a little over 20 minutes. Any other questions that you have, please make sure you're inputting them into the Q&A. Next, we have when the job posting slash description specifies that I have to submit a cover letter, does it mean compulsory to do it aside from submitting my resume? So when it is a requirement that you submit a cover letter, there will be an asterisk. You will not be able to submit or move on to another page unless that is provided or there's been a document that is uploaded. So what I've noticed a lot is that cover letters have become optional, but there are a few employers who do expect to review your cover letter. And then in that case, you won't be able to move past and submit your application unless a document has been uploaded under the cover letter section. We have here, I don't have much work experience for the role I really want to do. Is there anything I can do in my resume to address this? So I would probably, really encourage you to go back and think about the previous jobs that you've done, the previous roles that you've held, any volunteering experience that you've had as well, and really highlight those transferable skills. Anything that you've done in one job for the job that you're aiming for, is there anything that you can take with you? Is there anything that you can share that will help the employer understand that you are capable of doing the job? So yeah, just really taking a good look at your transferable skills and what you can bring to the table as well. Um, can titles and content have different font sizes? For example, experience is 14. Yeah, absolutely. In that case, it's fine. If it's to highlight a specific subheading, by all means, you can make the subheading a little bit bigger and then the content can be a little bit smaller. So in that case, it's fine as long as it's the same throughout. So if you have work experience, education, certifications, volunteering, those can be highlighted a little bit bigger, but just make sure if you have content underneath those that it all is following the same type of formatting. Absolutely. I have gaps in my experience. How do I navigate around that? So that's something that I've have seen in quite a bit of resumes. People move countries, personal things happen, people get married, they have children, and that pulls them out of the workforce for a little bit of time. For me, I just, provide what you can, right? Please just, continue to focus and highlight the skills that you come with. And if you're asked the question, then we can kind of do some preparation around that as well. So I've worked with clients who have had gaps of 7 years, 8 years, sometimes 10 years as well. And again, it's just ensuring that we're reminding the employer of what we come with and that we are valuable to the team. Does Devant have any platform to check ATS score? Sisha, I would probably bring you in here for that question.
Thanks for that question. We don't have anything that's directly checking ATS in particular, but we do have resources that shows ATS friendly resumes. I would just say you want to avoid, as Tiffany mentioned, like graphics
Mhm.
or things that are not easily scannable, we do have a checklist that you can review. So if you go on to the Devant website at www.devant.ca and you hit the login page or the login tab, you can sign in with your school email address and get access to all of our tools and resources for free that have been paid for by your campus. But in addition to that, you can also book one-on-one time with our career coaches like Tiffany, and she can walk you through the resources and the checklist for your resume. It really is worth it. It's something I'm going to bring up actually to see as a follow-up email if I find the actual tools or links and we can actually share it with you directly to give you a shortcut. I'll send you a follow-up email. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Another question that we have here in the chat. Can I mention education percentage in resume? Should I mention projects, which I've done during studies? So if you are referring to your GPA, I believe that is okay to be mentioned, depending on your background and the type of work that you're looking for. I do always recommend projects. I used to work very closely with a data cohort and data classes. So everyone wanted to be a data analyst or a junior data analyst. I would encourage them, please use GitHub, sign in on there, work on projects because there's no way, if you haven't had that official job title and worked in the field before, there's no way for the employer to really know and understand what it is that you're capable of doing. So, depending on your field of work, if there's a project or a portfolio, a website that you have, anything to provide to share the work that you've done, I highly recommend doing so. And then making sure you also share that to your LinkedIn profile. So once you make a post onto your LinkedIn, anyone who likes or comments on your post, it will also be shown to their network as well that they've interacted with your post. So it's always a really great way to gain traction on your profile as well. If yes, how much longer should it be? Again, we want to make sure we're staying within that 2-page max when it comes to a resume. So maybe you want to put in, the title of your project, when it was completed, and a brief description on what exactly it is that you did. When it comes to data that I've worked with, some people provide the link to their GitHub, and it will take them to the specific part on their page where they go into more depth on the project that they worked on. So it could even be for the sake of getting into more keywords there. Maybe you made it to the second page of your resume, but it's not really full. You have like half a page that's just blank and empty. Then you can include some more information about your projects. How to mention the projects made in my academic program. So you can make a subheading on your resume called projects or additional projects. Bullet points, you want to follow something very similar to the way you have your work experience formatted on your resume. So maybe you can put in, the project of your title, when it was completed, and a short description of what exactly it is that you accomplished, what it is that you did, maybe your findings. And then if you have an additional portfolio or a website, you can hyperlink and then share that information with the employer as well. I don't have a LinkedIn profile. Is it a must in job application? So I have a little bit of a bias. I'm a huge advocate and a fan of LinkedIn. So for me, I would say yes. But again, if you personally not everyone wants to have a LinkedIn profile. Not everyone wants to, put all of their information out there. That is totally understandable. You can also play around with the privacy settings as well. So you can make your account very private. And then when someone is connected with you and you've accepted their invite, that's when they can see the entirety of your profile. So again, I do encourage LinkedIn profiles, especially if you have noticed, okay, I'm not getting any interviews. Nothing has been really working out for me. What else can I try? That's when those networking attempts would come in. That's when those coffee chat invites would come in. And it's something that I still do personally, even though I'm happily employed, just to keep those skills up to date, right? Having to the capacity to maintain those conversations and network with people. You never know down the line, if you're looking to switch employers and jobs, how this might come in handy. So again, LinkedIn is really great. Not only for networking, but even for finding job opportunities. It's a really good tool as well. So if you're applying online and maybe you're only relying on Indeed, you may not get all the results that you're looking for. You might want to take a look on LinkedIn as well because lots of employers post jobs on there too. Can you share some sample resume for reference? I'm not able to share um, templates for resumes right here, right now, but I believe if you do have access to log into the Devant platform, you will be able to receive a resume that is basically done for you once you've inputted all of the relevant information. So please give that a shot and see if you're able to work on that. What are some job portals? We have Monster, Glassdoor, absolutely. LinkedIn, Indeed, those ones are also really helpful. I would say LinkedIn and Indeed are, the two most popular, but again, be careful with scams as well. Um, I know we didn't talk about that too much in here, and I could go off topic with job searching about tons of different topics, but again, when it comes to any website that you're using, please, if it looks a little too good to be true, unfortunately, it probably is. If it's, work from home, 15 hours a week, 50 bucks an hour, um, just use your discretion. When you receive any email or any communication from this employer, please keep an eye out for are there spelling errors? Are there grammatical errors throughout this letter? I've also had some clients who receive offers without even interviewing with the employer. So just make sure um, you have that critical lens and you're really thinking, is this real, right? Going on to Google and typing in the employer name as well. Sometimes you'll have other people who have experienced the same thing, and then they will also be sharing their experience. Should I list my references or only when they've been asked about? Definitely only when they've been asked. I know it was very popular to include on your resume references available upon request. We can go ahead and remove that. So if anyone has that on their resume, please get rid of it because it's kind of a given that after the interview, if the employer is interested, they will be asking for your reference. So we don't really need to provide that anymore. They do not need to be on your resume either because most likely when you are called in for an interview and you've made it past that stage, that is when they would request that. And it's different from providing your resume and giving the interview. It's kind of its own thing and it means you're on track. Are we going to have the meeting recorded and shared? Absolutely. So it is being recorded. I think once it's stopped, it will take some time to upload to the Zoom platform and then it will be shared with you for sure. What is the recommended least font size? So for me, I would say 11 or 12. Um, if you're looking for the smallest font size, 11 to 12 is what I would probably recommend. It also depends on the style of font that you chose as well. 11 or 12 in Times New Roman might look different compared to Verdana. So just play around with it a little bit and see what works best. What would be the best way to reach out? So it would probably be through booking a one-on-one session. I believe Sisha shared in the chat the website. If you want to have a meeting to talk about your resume, talk about your job search, your LinkedIn, anything job search related, you will find the link in the chat. Um, we have another question here. I've seen a few times the question, are you part of a visible minority in the online job pages? Is there a reason for that? Does it affect the job application? So the reason for me what I see and how I understand it is DEI. To be honest, does that affect the job application? I don't believe that it does affect the job application. If you don't feel comfortable answering, I know that they put in, prefer not to answer or prefer not to share. So again, if it's not something you're comfortable sharing, you don't need to. I noticed there's definitely been an increase of those types of questions in job applications. So again, use your discretion. If you feel comfortable sharing and checking certain boxes off, by all means, go right ahead. If not, it's not a requirement to disclose this information. Does Devant have any LinkedIn group or job posting board to follow? So there is a LinkedIn page, but I don't believe that we have live postings that go out on here. So you will be updated on events coming up. But Sisha, you can go ahead and get in there for that answer.
Sure. So exciting news. Thank you for that question. For those of you who are graduating for the class of 2025, we are going to be launching a new LinkedIn community for those who are alumni or graduates. And in addition to that, I would say that going forward, if you have questions or tips, you should follow the Devant LinkedIn page.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Um, is there a specific way you can make a resume for co-op applications if you do not have enough work experience? So I'm so frustrated by the fact that, in order to get a job, you need to have experience, but in order to gain experience, you need to get a job. So it's a very frustrating cycle to be a part of. So I can definitely empathize with those of you who are in that boat right now. Again, uh, depending on the program that you're in, I do find it helpful to list off courses. If you find that you haven't hit that 2-page mark, you have blank spaces on your resume that you are looking to fill, you can provide some of the names of the courses you've completed. Most likely, if you're looking for a co-op and you're enrolled in school, you will have like an employer liaison or a placement coach or someone who's supporting with that process of placement. Please book some time with them. Please meet with them. Most likely, they will have connections as well. They will have referrals, employers that they can put you in front of and really vouch for you as well. So yeah, just making sure you're tailoring to the best of your ability. You're providing experience when it comes to your transferable skills, highlighting, this is what you've done in other roles, and this is how you will bring this to this employer and basically support. Um, in the work experience section of the resume, do you recommend to keep the content within 10 to 15 years? Um, Suppose I have experience that is relevant to the job I'm applying for, and the experience is from a job that was 20 years ago. Should I include that as well? So again, if you find, what you've been doing so far is not giving you the results that you're looking for, then we may want to switch it up a little bit, right? So let's try, let's remove this job, see what will happen, right? Maybe I'll let them think I have 10 to 15 years of experience rather than 20. Maybe it means removing an older job that I have on my resume and seeing if that will give me the results that I'm looking for. Am I noticing I'm getting more callbacks? Am I getting more assessments sent my way? So again, 20 years, um, you know, it is definitely a little bit of a tricky question. Try removing it and seeing if it will give you, if it will make a difference in your applications. I think it should. A lot of employers unfortunately are biased. So let's try that out. See for a solid month, 15 to 20 consistent applications a week. Maybe you're making additional attempts on LinkedIn as well to see if it will give you the results that you're looking for. When we apply for jobs, most of the time there is a question, do you know anyone working here? Should we answer that question or not? So if you know someone and they can refer you, amazing. If you don't know anyone, then you can go ahead and let them know that you don't know anyone who works there. Um, Would you mind sharing your email in the Q&A so I can share the link to book the one-on-one time for me if you are interested in that? I do have a few more slides to go through, so I'm just going to pause the Q&A. I believe we only have about 4 minutes left together, so time really does fly. So just a little bit more about what we offer. So if you do have access to this portal, please make sure that you are logging in and making use of it, taking advantage of it. Play around with the different tabs, see what the resume will look like. I really do highly recommend if you have access to the Devant platform and tool to begin using it as soon as possible. Uh, for upcoming events. So next week, which is already May 21st, we have Ask a Recruiter. And then on Wednesday, May 28th, we have an immigration Q&A. So if you have any concerns regarding work permits, IRCC changes, by all means, I would highly recommend attending. And I think Sisha has something about an upcoming event that we have.
Yes, thank you so much, Tiffany. So while I do the updates, would just like to say thank you so much to Tiffany for all of your feedback and answering so many questions. I learned a lot myself. You're such a great facilitator and an expert for us, and we're really excited to have you at every special sessions that we host. So please share your thoughts. Would love to get your feedback on this session, and looking forward to getting you guys feedback for future sessions and future topics. I just want to mention that we're very excited to say that for those of you who are graduating in the class of 2025, or who are recent graduates, have graduated already and are still looking for help or guidance, we are offering a free career launch conference on June the 18th. You have different sessions that you can join. There will be topics by different industries, by different functional areas. We're going to have recruiters, hiring managers. There'll also be a social in the evening, and we're really looking to add value to you. I did make a note that some people are really looking for resume feedback. So this is very interesting because I'm going to take a look and see if we can maybe introduce a resume round robin. So let me know if that's something interesting to you. We could do speed resume reviews for those of you who have graduated. I see some clapping, so that might be a good suggestion. We're going to have group sessions and one-on-one coaching as well. So we want to help you be successful. For those of you who are graduating, congratulations. Please continue to let us know your feedback and register. You'll see more information coming soon. Last year, we hosted this event. We had Google, RBC, Scotiabank, the Canadian Home Builders Association. I'm working on this event, so feel free to reach out to me. I've emailed everyone that I'm the facilitator for today's session, so you can reach out to me directly with feedback or suggestions. We want to help you to be successful as you graduate. So just wanted to mention that quickly. I'll pass it back to you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. I just put a few links in the chat there. If you're interested in booking a session with myself or any other one of our coaches, please feel free. I added my LinkedIn in there as well if any of you are looking to connect. So just a little bit more about the services. As you know, we have the one-on-one career coaching. We have a LinkedIn profile audit that we offer as well. And if you are looking for support with specifically just your resume and cover letter, then we offer a service for that as well. So there's me. I already put that in the chat, and that's pretty much it. We've hit 8 o'clock. I know we have a few questions in the Q&A that we were not able to get through. Thank you so much for those of you who were able to attend this evening. I know I did speed through a lot of the questions. I wanted to answer as much as I could in the hour that we had. I wish you all the best with your job search. I know it's hard out there sometimes, but please, take care of yourselves, keep applying, keep networking. And I promise it's only a matter of time until something comes through.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck. Have a good evening. Bye, Tiffany.